I'm Fiona and I'm from Finland. I did my exchange in a small town in Iowa in 2022 to 2023. I think I had a little bit of a uncommon host family, I'd say, because my host parents, they were in their early 20s. I feel like their age was the youngest age you can have an exchange student. But they did have two little kids. They were 3 and 5 when I did my exchange here. So I really loved my family. It was really fun. It kind of felt like my host mom was my sister because honestly, the host mom was the same age as my sister is. So
Oh my goodness
yes.
gracious.
Yes, I have. And actually, currently, I'm in Iowa. So when I came here, I saw my host mom and she helped me with um, all the things I needed help with. So that was awesome. Honestly, the people, I got to know so many amazing people, and I knew that when I come back, I still like had those contacts. And then also the how schools are here. There's so much more than just the school itself. Because when we go back to Finland, all of the sports, all the events, all the things are outside of school. So I
Right.
really like how everything's like in the school. I did cross country, then I did basketball, and then I did track and field. So each season I did something, which I would really recommend people to do because when school started, obviously you don't know anyone, but that first practice you have to go to, you're gonna see them every single day from then there on. So, um, well, I come from the capital city, so I live in a big city. So going from that to a really small town to a really small school was definitely a lot different. But then the things that came with it was the fact that everyone knows each other, which I thought was really weird. And then I was talking with someone, and then they're like, "Oh, they're my cousin," and I'm like, "How is everyone everyone's cousin?" So,
Oh, that's so perfect. Yeah, so I'm from West Virginia, and this
yeah.
is yeah, this is very, very true. The street I grew up on as a kid, I was actually related to every single house on the street on the hill. They were
Mhm.
so this sounds like this may not be the norm, at least in the cities in Finland.
Yeah, no, not really. Well, I guess going back to the same topic,
Yeah.
because even though it was a culture shock that everyone knew each other, it kind of brought this sense of like community. And even though it's a small place, it didn't feel as small
Mhm.
because all the people that were there were in the same place. Honestly, just everyday conversations, because every single time I would have those like small culture shocks or even like some things that I would think differently of, then I would usually bring it up and I'd be like, "Hey, this is weird to me." So then through that they learn it. Um, and with my host family, my host mom and we love to cook. So I think I did 4 or 5 different Finnish foods and dishes while I was there. So obviously, like through food, that's a great way to share culture. Ooh, that's so good because even though maybe a lot of people like to dislike on some of the American foods on the or the way that Americans eat, especially like as Europeans,
Yep.
there's so many things that when I went back home, I was like, oh, I miss this so much. Even like as simple as like mac and cheese.
Oh wow. Okay. So that's not a
Yeah,
common food in Finland, I guess. No one's eating mac and
no,
cheese in Finland. Okay.
yeah. And then I'd say all of the millions different types of casseroles. I love casseroles. Yes, there for sure is. Um, First I'll obviously say graduation, the prom, the homecoming, all of the football games, all of the like firsts you have as an exchange student because you don't have that in your home country. So all of those. are really good memories. But like one specific one that especially now that I look back on is really meaningful, um, is that the year I did my exchange year, our football team did really well. So we continued to go into the state semifinals, which those like the state semifinals are held in a university, like a university dome, like an inside dome. So
Yeah.
we traveled there to go and watch our high school to play at the semifinals. And at that moment, it was obviously like a really cool experience. I loved it. But what's really significant about that is that right now I'm in a college, and in that college, like the dome we went to is this college I'm in right now. So it's just like insane to think about that because I had no idea like 2, 3 years ago that the high school state semifinal football game I went to a college will be the college I'm in right now.
That you
Yeah.
Oh, that is so wild. I mean, so of course it's got to come up that feeling and you're like life
Hmm.
is crazy like that. So many things like that will happen in your life and sometimes they can be really, really cool, but that is like a
Hmm.
perfect example.
Yeah. I feel like for both, just for the mutual understanding, because there's a lot of stereotypes that, especially now, like social media likes to push us, and this um, divide between like Americans and Europeans, and having all of these, um, yeah, essentially stereotypes. So choose someone to go, like an exchange student, to go to the American high school and just to show how they are and their culture as an individual rather than a weird stereotype, if that makes sense.
It
So
makes
just
perfect
mutual
sense.
understanding, yeah.
Yes, that mutual understanding that it's not a monolith of like all
Mhm.
Americans are this character and Europeans are this
Right.
character.
And just perspectives. I think that's a huge thing. Seeing stuff from other people's perspectives, and so many because they're from another country, other side of the whole world. Like the way I grew up and the way my friends grew up is so different. So just being open-minded and seeing how different people see the world, yeah, that's just great to me. And it's just great to have like that open-minded mindset with that and learn how to do that as well.
And I love that you have that takeaway. Before we hit record, you were talking about that you're a student of leadership. And one of the
Yeah.
first things that they'll try to train you in as a leader is understanding how different people come to different
Mhm.
worldviews and paradigms. And not necessarily that one is right or wrong, but they're just different
Mhm.
informed by completely different experiences. So having
Yeah.
that understanding at your young age is amazing. And I know sometimes it's probably not always easy. Like sometimes it's fun and sometimes it's like,
Mhm.
what on earth is going
Yeah.
on here?
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, I'd say that because of the exchange year, then moving back here and having all those experiences, it wasn't as big of a milestone anymore. And I maybe I learned how to remove expectations because usually you yourself are the one who makes things difficult. So just having like all of those expectations being taken away and just being there, seeing how it goes makes your life a lot easier.
I love that you have that skill because yeah, one thing I often say is nothing in life is going to be what you think it will
Mhm.
be.
Yes.
And often we have expectations about how things are going to be, and we don't even know we have those expectations till we
Right,
get there, and
right.
we're like, that does not fit what was in my head.
Yeah.
And so I can see how that probably helps you become more adaptable and resilient because you're like, I'm going to take this for what it is and not
Hmm.
how well it matches this thing in my head.
Uh, it's a weird feeling for sure. And going back to like expectations, you probably like everyone kind of has like maybe this emotion you think you're gonna feel or all of these things. But to be honest, when I landed and the first time I saw my host family and the 2 hour car ride from the airport to their house, I don't feel like I felt anything. Like it was just so much going on. I couldn't understand what I'm doing. And then when you start like actually think about it, you just traveled for like 15 hours, 20 hours, however many hours you traveled. You're with these random people you just saw for the very first time. And for me, it was the first time in the States anyway. It's just this like mind-blowing experience. So I don't think I felt anything. I was just there. I was just happy to be there. Kind of tired. I kind of just wanted to go to bed and then go from there.
That's yeah, you are just along for the ride.
Yeah.
And that is one thing I hear folks, students say is how tired they
Mhm.
were, and I love to kind of pass that message on to those host families too, is just so that they understand the level of
Yeah.
mental and physical exhaustion.
Hmm.
And then on the flip side, thinking about 10 months later, what was going through your head and what emotions were you having as you were traveling that 2 hours back from your host family
Hmm.
to the airport to go back to Finland? I mean, at that point, did you know you would come back to college here, or like what was going through your head?
Then I had no idea that I would come
Yeah,
back to college. That was not in my radar at that moment because I still had to finish high school in Finland. But a lot of exchange students say that leaving the States is harder than leaving your home country. And I would agree with that because you've been there for 10 months. And I'd say for 99.9% of the time, it's an amazing experience. Um, so you built this whole life. You have new friends, new environment, new school. You did sports or clubs or whatever you did. You have this new life. And to leave that to go back to your home country was really hard. And with like when you leave for the exchange year, oh, I'm gonna come back. So it's maybe easier to leave your friends, leave your family, because you know you're gonna come back. You leave the States and you're like, I don't know when I'm gonna see you. Is it gonna be a year? Is it gonna be 5 years? It's just this really weird feeling of leaving another life behind. Mm, honestly, I'd say not to put too much pressure on it. It might seem weird, like, and to me as well at that moment, I was like, oh, I gotta do all of these things to like prepare myself, or I have to have this like plan. No, I'd say just be in the moment. Yes, that be in the moment. Because the second like 2 months before you have to leave, you start thinking about it. I feel like it makes it worse rather than just being in the moment. And then when the day comes, you're gonna leave. And that last 2 months, you were just thinking, oh, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna leave. Then at that moment, you're like, I should have just lived in the moment. So,
that is such good advice. I think I will share this with our exchange students. And it's good advice for anybody going through a
yeah,
transition or
yeah.
just anybody in life.
Hmm.
And I wondered too if they were just like, here's some college applications to come back to Iowa and be a college
Correct.
student. So that's awesome. Another thing that I'm always curious about is what in terms of United States, I know a lot of students can do in foreign exchange anywhere. What was it about the United States that kind of drew you in as opposed to, say, another country that you could have gone to?
Um, I don't know where this stems from, but I've always like been so interested about the States. Like at a young age, I remember like, and my mom will tell me this to this day. She's like, "Yeah, when you're 5 years old, then you told me that you're gonna live in New York in a penthouse," and I'm like, "All right." I don't know what it was, and well, maybe like growing up with well, not growing up with social media, but kind of growing into that time when social media started being a thing. And those early YouTube videos of seeing Americans doing like as simple as like shopping challenges at Target. We don't have Target. So then I was like, oh, I need to go to Target. I don't know. It was just like all of these small things added together. I kind of just grew this really big interest towards the States with like the high school movies or whatever it was. I just knew that at some point I need to experience this myself.
I love that. And,
Yeah.
it kind of speaks to one worry that some prospective host families have is they think, well, my life isn't exciting enough to host an
Hmm.
exchange student, or I'm not exciting enough.
Yeah.
But then when I s- actually speak to students who've done an exchange year, oftentimes they'll say like it was Target or it was Crumble Cookie or it was Christmas. For you, in addition to Target, what were some other kind of small things about life in America that you were like, yeah, I want to go there, I want to do this, this is awesome.
Mm, the sports. I'm a very like sports type of person. Um, I've always done sports. I grew up in sports, and just having that within the school. I feel like I mentioned this like within the first question you asked me of this interview, but the sports and how everyone is within the school. I just love that. And I wish that that would be in other countries as well, because it brings a lot to the school life as well, and maybe makes it um, less possible for students to, worn out or be so stressed about school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally. And I think also too, sports are a great way to learn
Mhm.
some of the things you learn. It's experiential education. You're learning
Yeah.
teamwork, you're learning communication, you're learning leadership because you're trying to do a thing. You're trying to get through a
Mhm.
thing. So get through an experience. And
Mm, yes, I would say so, but at the same time, um, one like culture shock, I guess, or a new thing when I came to the States was the way you address teachers,
oh,
saying Mrs. or Mr. and not being able to or allowed to call them their first name was weird to me because in Finland it's very much like, oh, hi, I don't know, Sarah or whatever your name is. You can call teachers by their first name and it's not so formal. So when I came to States, to me it was more formal than what I was used to. So just to saying Mrs. and Mr. felt very, very odd to me at first.
that's right. I recently read this about some of the countries, like I think it was maybe Sweden and Norway are similar, is that there's a
Mhm.
very egalitarian kind of mindset,
Yeah.
and which I actually kind of love. I think is really cool. Um, And then sometimes, like I know with our Eastern students, they sometimes say the opposite. They're like, people are so informal with their teachers.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, because it's there's a real kind of like power
Hmm.
differential, and even more so than US and in Eastern countries. And so that's like a kind of a cool example of like
Yeah.
experiencing another perspective and worldview. And it's not just the practice of saying Mr. or Mrs., but it's the mindset that underlies it.
Yes, there is. And then at our school, there was a one other exchange student, and I'm still friends with her as well. So there is definitely a couple friends that I'm still in really close contact with.
So for you, I mean, you're still in contact with your host family, you're still in
Hmm.
contact with some friends. You came back and you're having this college experience in
Yeah.
Iowa. So for you, I mean, this has really been a life-changing
Yes.
experience.
Hmm. No, it really, really has. I don't know. It really did change the direction of my life. And I could not imagine or think about my life without doing the exchange year. I know for some people, exchange year might not be as tragic of a change or bring as much changes to your life in the long run. But even though it wouldn't be as big as it was for and it is for me, it's still it's gonna like help you to grow as a person and just I don't know, it gives you so many good experiences. So I would definitely recommend to for everyone to do an exchange year if that's possible for them.
Yeah, I think that's so beautifully said because it's really not just about like, we sometimes we think about, oh, we learn English or we get travel experience and all these practical
Hmm.
skills. But yeah, it's the personal growth that comes from it.
Yeah.
And I think it also creates some personal growth even for the families that host.
Yeah.
Some they learn about a new culture and new mindsets, and they learn how to adapt and communicate and be empathetic and supportive. And
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about it is the human connection.
Mm, learning about like another culture, and it's so different to, go on Google and write, oh, facts about Finland, than to actually like host a person from that country. And yeah, just like you said, like the actual human connection, there's a very good chance that you're gonna be in contact with that exchange student for the rest of your life.